Hello and welcome to another episode of Amon Sheeran's Pirate Radio. On today's episode, we have a very illustrious guest, my coworker, Yvonne, the Motivator Man. Yvonne, thank you for doing this episode. I'm excited to have you on my personal podcast, even though we're coworkers. The only other coworker to be on this podcast has been Dylan, and we talked
Okay.
about professional wrestling. So this is a little different episode, a little more serious. We're
Mhm.
talking about a very hot button topic right now in the world of track and field, my world, and just the world in general, because it's the Olympic stage, it's the U.S. Olympic trials, and of course, we were talking about um, Sha'Carri Richardson, and I'll
Yes.
let you go from there.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. That intro was everything. I don't think I've ever been introduced so well, so I thank you. And yeah, Sha'Carri Richardson. Um, mm, all I can say is, dang, did she have to test positive? You know, um, that's it. You know, before I go any further, as I was introduced, Yvonne the Motivator Man, my show is Determined Women of Destiny, which is on Rude Rangers Unite every Friday at 7 p.m. And then I have a show, Dear Daughter, that is on Rude Rangers Unite every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Dear Daughter is common topics discussed in an uncommon way to women ages 18 and above. And Determined Women of Destiny highlights female entrepreneurs to give business inspiration and motivation to women who are thinking about having a business, struggling in business, and even women that are doing good in business. Come on and give us tips, show us their products and their services. And it's a community of women to infuse each other and our buying power to increase it. So that's just a little bit about me. I do work with um, the host here, and
That's me. Yeah, but
yeah, I do work with the host, and we talk about stuff time to time. But this Sha'Carri Richardson thing is really, really big. My question is, if she was blonde and blue-eyed, would they have hit this and just kept going? You know,
I don't know, honestly.
right?
I
So,
think you have a valid point to bring up. The only other comparable thing right now is a white distance runner who would have likely qualified in two events.
mhm,
She ate a pork burrito, which had performance enhancing substances. An American distance runner, Matt Centrowitz, came in second in the 1500. Actually, they were in a relationship at the time. He
right.
decided not to eat the pork burrito that day, tested negative. Shelby did and tested positive. So the U.S. Olympic Committee does have very strict standards. Obviously,
Okay.
um, marijuana is being decriminalized in this country,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to make the point that the Olympic Committee does take things seriously. However, I think this is a gross miscarriage of justice for Sha'Carri.
Right. And it's not an enhancement um, drug. So it's not like she smoked weed and became faster. The girl's faster than Win no matter what she does. Number one. Number two, as far as a Black woman in America, I gotta say some of the onus was on her because she knows that we're held at a higher level.
In her
You
defense,
know,
she was dealing with the death of her mother. I'd like to bring that up.
absolutely,
And
absolutely. And she was told about her mother's passing
by a reporter.
by a reporter, a total stranger.
Right.
And 2 days later, her career, her life is on the line. So this girl didn't get a chance to grieve. And as she said, on her interview, this was my way of coping. Everybody has a coping mechanism. This was my coping mechanism. Was it the wrong mechanism? Yeah, right now we're saying, yeah, it was the wrong one. Like I said, as a Black woman in America, she was given the same speech that I know my mother gave me. We are held at a higher standard because the way America looks at Black people in America. We don't have off time. We can't do a little bit over here to the side and it's okay. Absolutely not. And like you said, the Olympics, they have a no tolerance
Zero
uh,
tolerance. Right.
Zero tolerance. She knew that going in. She knew that. She knew it. But then again,
But the point I want to bring up is she wins the 100 either way. She
yes.
may have been the world champion. She was one of the favorites to be the world champion, but America, I think, said no to that, and I think that's to her.
And guess what? They can't say no to that because she's young enough to come back 4 years from now and be stronger than she is right now.
Exactly.
The America should have learned from Stacey Adams. You're not going to take a Black woman and tell her no, because Stacey Adams said, okay, and I'm going to turn Georgia blue, and that's exactly what she did, and she will go down in history. Sha'Carri Richardson, I'm telling you, mark my words, will be back in 4 years.
In 8 years and 12 years, honestly.
She will be faster than she's ever been. She's going to beat her own time, because that is one cocky girl. She really is. And I'm telling you, she's coming back from this. Well, this is not the last we're going to see from her. And I'm very happy for that. I'm very happy for that. I hope once she stops crying and depression leaves and she stops beating herself up by, that one joint, man, really, and she goes back into training, she's going to be better than ever. So this might have been something that worked in her favor. And the U.S. doesn't even know.
Right. I have to bring up a world record-setting performance by a Black athlete, female Black athlete, Sydney McLaughlin, Union Catholic athlete from New Jersey. She went to the University of Kentucky and just set the world record in the 400 hurdles at the Olympic trials. She's the U.S. champion, and no one's ever run faster in the 400 hurdles. She'll likely be an Olympic champion and therefore the world champion.
Right.
So that's a huge success. There are many other successes by Black athletes at the Olympics. Just trying to think of some other ones, but there's so many, there's too many to count. And that brings me to my one point I'd like to bring up, something that I asked you to research during work hours, which was Jesse Owens and the 36 Olympics. Just give a little background.
Before you go there, I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
The reason why America was so bent on Sha'Carri Richardson is because she was over the top with her hair, her lashes, her nails. Many, many white Americans had a problem saying, we don't want someone who looks like that representing us. At this point, when you run faster than wind, do we really care what color your hair is? Do we really care about your lashes or those nails?
That's a good question.
We want you to bring home the gold.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
And in our culture, that is part of our culture. The hairstyles, the lashes, the nails, and it has definitely bubbled over into all the other cultures. So before you start ripping someone apart, you need to see what culturally is okay for them.
Also, let he who had not sinned cast the first.
Throw that first. No, don't start me preaching. Don't you start me to preach.
No, I know. Yeah, so back to Owens in the 36 games.
Yes.
I believe, if I'm correct, someone can fact check me, he won the 100, the 200, and the long jump, and made Hitler a very, very sad man, which is obviously a good thing.
Because he underestimated his ability to win. As I did the research, because I did not know as much as I should have about it, he did not let Jews participate.
Right. And there was a 4x1 team. I have an important point to make. There's a 4x1 team, and this man, Marty Glickman, would later go on he was Jewish American. He would have been on the 4x1 team. He was not because of the World War II. And he went on to be an announcer and a great man, but he was a Jewish athlete and was not allowed to participate in the 4x100 meter in these same Olympic Games. Marty Glickman.
So Jewish people were banned. He let in Black folks thinking, oh, well, they're less than,
right.
Yeah, they're not going to win. And then when Jesse Owens wins, there's nothing you can do about it because that's in the history books now.
And it's recorded, documented.
Absolutely. It is about time, and I know that's Ebonics, I don't care, for the U.S. to understand that there are many, many different nationalities that are here, and we're not going anywhere. And we're participating in everything that the United States has to offer. And some of us are going to excel, which means that we will win, which means that you will have to get used to it. Most definitely.
Right. I'd like to talk about some other Black athletes who inspire me.
Hmm.
I'd like to start with. I have to start with Michael Jordan. He inspires me because I think he opened the door for Kobe to be. So LeBron, Michael Jordan, is a debate there who's the best player ever. But if you look at the most competitive people ever, I think it's Jordan and Kobe. And I think that like good teammates bring championships, but they both did whatever it took to win, and so did Jesse Owens, so did Muhammad Ali, so did all these great names through time, and they really inspire me. And obviously now I just thought of, as I guess, goosebumps, Jackie Robinson and all these other famous athletes that have inspired me to, in many ways, become a social worker and try to help people and try to help the less fortunate.
They had to break those barriers. And Michael Jordan, if you go back a little bit further than him being in the NBA, when Mike was in high school, Mike couldn't make the basketball team.
Right. He missed the cut as a freshman.
So that means that he had to work extra hard just to be seen, just to be known that I have that talent. Those are your athletes. As a speaker, I have people that inspire me. And one of them was an athlete at the time, Inky Johnson.
Okay.
And Inky Johnson basically was going to be drafted in a couple of days and have one last game and has never played football again in his life. All Inky had was football. His family was poor, and he promised his mom, when I sign these draft papers, Mom, don't worry about it.
Draft to the war or draft to the sports?
No, to NFL.
Okay, gotcha.
So, as soon as I sign these papers, I'm gonna buy you a house, and all my cousins won't have to be coming over here sleeping in the same bed, Mom, and you don't have to walk anymore from your job at Wendy's, and I'm gonna get you a car. And everything was laid out because from the time he was 8 years old, this was his dream and he worked towards it. And one game took that away. He's a phenomenal motivational speaker. And if you've never heard of Inky Johnson, please go and listen to Inky Johnson and hear his story and how he has overcome. So I get you where you say, there are some athletes that have inspired you. Well, Inky is an athlete that did not get a chance to go to fruition because of a bad hit. That's exactly what it was, a bad hit.
It was a football injury?
Football injury, absolutely.
All right.
But
mm-hmm.
From that, his speaking career developed. You said Muhammad Ali, absolutely. Stood for what he believed in, did not believe in the Vietnam War, was not going to go, and he took his incarceration. If that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. But I'm not a man of war, and I'm not going to fight, and I don't believe that this war is my war.
He lost the prime years of his boxing career as a result, unfortunately.
But it did not stop him from being the greatest of all time.
Like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Absolutely.
I'll be in bed before the lights turn out. That's how fast he was.
So we now know Sha'Carri Richardson is coming back. She's coming back.
I think
she's going to learn.
I feel like I don't know. It doesn't really make sense at this point, but I think this podcast is going to be a huge help in helping her run in Tokyo. I think we were quick to the scene, and we're one of the first podcasts out on this issue. And I think it's very important for America to see a young white male talking with a powerful Black woman about this issue. And I had to choose my words carefully there. But thank you, Yvonne. And I still have some things I want to ask you about. You mentioned the Black Panther comic book series. And you're picking it up as a kid. How did that maybe inspire you?
Well, the story that you saw, the movie that you saw was very entertaining. It was extremely entertaining. But it only took a little bit of what those comics did for me as a kid. My father came home because I'm an animation freak, brought those comic books home, and I started reading them and was like Africa. And see, my parents are from the South, and they were like, we don't come from Africa. So that's what all I always heard. So when I enrolled in college, I enrolled late. So radio and television was supposed to be my major. Couldn't get it. Didn't know that was one of the most entered courses, you know? So my second thing was, it was called Afro Studies at the time. And I was able to find out about African culture. And I tell you, my mind was blown away. But as a kid with those comic books, and I always dreamed of far off places, I was like, I want to go to Africa one day. It seemed so wonderful. And even though it was fairy tale-ish and they had this substance that made them strong, and the women were warriors, which was right up my alley. Uh, you know, uh, it inspired me to dream as a Black woman in an environment that did not embrace me at that time. I really don't feel that America embraces us as much as it should now. But I did end up going to Africa. I was there for 10 days. And that dream was instilled in me as a kid, as my father tossed some comic books on the kitchen table.
Wow. Uh, Wakandan salute, rest in peace. Chadwick Boseman, a great, great man.
Yes. Great actor.
Yeah.
Studied his craft like none other. And that's the reason why he was so great at what he did.
Are you a Spike Lee fan?
I am. I like Spike's work. I really do. I love his work.
I really enjoyed The Five Bloods.
Yes. Yes.
That was a great play.
And then you have Malcolm X, that told the story of Malcolm X. And a lot of people, you had to see it until the end to realize that Malcolm's thoughts were changing. When he went to Mecca, his thoughts changed drastically, and he was turning to another direction, and then he was killed.
Right.
So we never know how big his input would have been in changing the lives of Black Americans and also America toward Black Americans, because his life was snuffed out. At the same time, Martin Luther King's life, around the same time, they were both killed.
Dr. King.
So, yes. Right. We honor Martin Luther King because nonviolent movement. A lot of people don't know that movement was not supposed to be a walk in Selma. They were going to the airport and they were going to lay down flat and keep the planes from coming in. And his friend at the time said, "You can't do this, please don't. When I become president, if you follow these wishes, I will make sure that a civil rights plan will be in place." That was JFK.
JFK said that quote.
That was his interaction with Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. And that's why there was not a lay down on the Montgomery airport field.
And that's Alabama.
But instead, it was a march in Selma. And he did do what he said. There was a civil rights action plan that was put into place under his presidency.
JFK's?
Yep.
Okay.
You can look that up.
Yes, no, I definitely will after this. But I recommended a show. Well, first I want to touch on Luca, a movie we both saw and really enjoyed. I saw it with my girlfriend, who's listening awkwardly in the background here. But it was a very good
Hello,
movie.
Girlfriend. How are you?
Hi.
That's Marissa.
Hi, Marissa.
Yeah, she's been listening the whole time. But Luca was great. And what are your thoughts on the movie and what you said earlier today?
It was a movie about understanding people's differences. My granddaughter's autistic, she's 7, and we were watching it together. She loved it too. It caught her attention, which is very hard with an autistic child. But I loved it. I loved at the end when they said, see, just because they're a sea creature doesn't mean that they're bad.
Right.
Just because I'm Black, it doesn't mean that I'm bad. Just because I'm Spanish, it doesn't mean that I'm bad. Just because I'm Jewish, just because I'm Asian, just because. it doesn't mean that I'm bad. And we need to embrace people, because Luca ended up having his dream to go to school, and his friend ended up having a dad,
Right.
all because there was the ability to embrace. In this country, we don't embrace. We spend so much time pushing people away, not trying to understand. Another coworker and ours, and she loves when I say this, so I'm gonna say this, my one Asian friend, Tan.
On farm.
That's right,
Out there.
Tan. Um, you know, the first thing I do when I meet someone from another culture that I don't know, I ask them about their culture, and then I say, hey, what's one of your favorite foods? And can we go out to eat? You know, because I want to embrace your culture. I want to know about your culture. You know, I think the biggest thing in
Well,
America is
you're
that
already
we're,
making me hungry with this.
I'm sorry. Well, ask her about the oxtail beef stew. She's supposed to make it for us. So
Okay.
now it's out there in front of all these people telling you have to do it.
All right. There
But
you go.
if we embrace each other more, I think that the hatred would die. But in this country, you're fat, you're skinny, you're black, you're white, you're tall, you're short. I mean, you're rich, you're poor. It doesn't matter. You can wipe away all of that, they'll find something else to hate. Your hair's red, your hair's black. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There's an important point that I learned in social work school. I do have my
Mhm.
master's degree, not to brag, but
But congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I wasn't fishing for a compliment. I wanted to make this point that
Mhm.
race is actually a social construct. It's a very difficult concept to understand for a lot of people, but I think you'd be better at explaining it than I. So, um,
Well, it was put in place long before you and I, and it was set up so that a group of people would never, ever, ever climb to the level of their potential. Now, there are many, many Black people who have superseded what white America could ever think of. I mean, come on. Did they ever think they would have a Thurgood Marshall? Absolutely not. They definitely didn't think they'd have an Obama and have him for 8 years. Imagine that, America. You know? So, yeah, this it was devised in this country that anybody different than those who are in power would not be able to obtain power.
right. So it's more economic. Race is more economic than anything. I don't want to
Mhm.
um, go down that road, but I'd like to ask my signature question that I ask all my
Uh-huh.
guests. If you could have dinner, take someone out to dinner, male or female, obviously doesn't matter,
Mhm.
with any, we'll do both, with any celebrity or athlete that's alive, who would you take out?
Alive?
Alive, and then we'll do that's past.
Okay, alive. Someone alive that I want to take out. It would probably be Oprah. And not because I think she's so fabulous, but what I think is she fabulously does what she does. And I would definitely take some tips from her. I would take a pad and a pen, and she could eat. I don't have a problem feeding her, but while you're chewing, I want to take down tips. How you came from a Chicago newsroom to where you are today.
hmm I don't know if you're familiar, but the number one podcaster right now is Joe Rogan, and a lot of people say he's the obviously male Oprah, which is I think a compliment to both of them somehow. But if anyone who has passed that you'd like to take out for a bite.
Anyone who passed, and we talked about this, and for me, it's Sojourner Truth,
hmm
because I really wanted to know the mindset of a woman that was able to motivate and inspire people who had the mindset of being confined to realize there's such a thing called freedom, and I can get you there. And how she freed her own mind that I no longer want to be a slave, nor will I be.
Right. I'd like to end with a hashtag that's trending, which is Let Richardson Run, Let Sha'Carri Run. If we make
Mhm.
enough noise, I think she will win the Olympics and go on to change the world. So it's not a little thing. It's very important, and we can't let her be disqualified.
Absolutely not. Run, girl, run, girl, run. But as a mama, I'm going to stand in mama's place. Learn your lesson. Learn your lesson.
Sha'Carri
Come on.
Richardson.
That's right. That's from a mother's heart. I am not condemning you. What I'm telling you is learn your lesson, girl. I got you, and I'm rooting for you.
I'm not allowed to do outro songs anymore because of DCMA, but what's a song you'd like people to listen to?
Oh, okay. All my college folks, you know, my birthday's coming up, July 22nd.
We'll be
Everybody
back
knows
for you.
my favorite song is By the Time 777-9311. I purchased my tickets today
Wait,
for their Atlantic City tour. I'm going to be right there in row 3. Okay. So do me a favor. Do me a favor. Go to YouTube and when you think of me, just turn on 777-9311.
is that a band? Just numbers?
It's a song, but the band is Morris Day and the Time,
Okay.
who of course was put together by Prince. They're Prince's proteges.
Rest in peace. Right? Is
Rest
Prince
in
still with
peace.
us? Okay. I had to make sure.
No.
Sorry.
Did you say that?
I swear
Oh
to God.
my God.
This is a confession. I always think Prince is Michael Jackson's son, and he's not. And I don't know why I think that. Just how my mind works.
Why would you think that Prince would be
I
Michael
don't know.
Jackson's son?
I don't know. It's just how my
They're
mind.
around, we're all the same age.
Really?
Yes. I'll be 60 in July. Michael must have been like, would have been like 61, 62. Prince is like, would have been like 57.
All right. I guess I'll listen to Purple Rain. I don't know what else to say.
Mm,
But other than this is
Well,
the American flag, and we're not going to let Sha'Carri go down without a fight. And I think this was a great
no.
step in the right direction. And
Yeah,
I'd love to do this again sometime. But thank you for your
sure.
time.
And thank you for having me on.
And
And you
tomorrow,
guys make sure you check my show out.
yes.
Tonight, 7 p.m., Determined Women of Destiny, Rude Rangers Unite. And then Tuesday at 8 p.m., Rude Rangers Unite, Dear Daughter.
Thank you very much. And my next guest tomorrow will be 400-meter hurdler, my former coach, Kenny
Oh,
Coleman, the Flash. So stay tuned for
okay,
that. So thank
cool.
you, Yvonne, and I appreciate your time. And thank you, everyone, for listening.